Hi everyone! I wanted to tell you about lunar halos today. I saw one the other evening and they're just so cool. Sometimes at night, when you're looking at the moon, you'll notice this ring of light around it. Now, I drew this pretty colorful, but normally it's mostly white light, but sometimes you see a bit of red on the inside and a bit of blue on the outside, and I'll tell you about why that is. But the reason this ring of light around the moon is caused is up in the cloud layer of the atmosphere. There's all these little ice crystals up there, all kinds of tiny ice crystals. If we look at those ice crystals up close, they're like basically little prisms. This is a hexagonal prism. This is a common formation that ice crystals form in. And what happens when light hits a prism is it hits the first face and that causes it to bend. And then when it hits the second face, it bends again. This is called refraction. And so this bending for a particular type of ice crystal will happen at the same angle amongst all of them. So usually this is about 22 degrees of a bend. But if the ice crystal was a slightly different shape or sitting in a different way or a different kind of configuration, it might bend it at a different angle. But usually it's this kind of sort of ice crystal and it bends it at 22 degrees. The other thing that happens when it goes through that prism is it gets broken up into colors. And you've seen that before probably when someone shines a light through a prism. The reason that happens is light travels as a particle and as a wave. And the wave can be different frequencies. So it can be really tight together or it can be kind of like really far apart. And so because it's different, so there's all these different waves within light, they break up and get bent at different angles. So red doesn't get bent, gets bent at the lowest angle, and blue gets bent at the highest angle. And that's why to the inside of the halo, it's kind of reddish, because that light is getting bent the least out of all the light coming in. And so what happens for us as a viewer is we're standing there and we can see the light coming in from the moon, and so we see the moon. But what we're also seeing is all of that light getting bent at 22 degrees. Now we're not seeing the light that's over here because it's missing our eye, but it's also getting bent at 22 degrees. And we're not seeing the light in between the moon and the ring because the light doesn't get bent at less than 22 degrees. So there's no light bending happening in there. That's just straight kind of glowy moonlight. If there was somebody beside us over here, they would be seeing some of that other bent light, but they'd be seeing sort of their own version of that halo, which is kind of neat. And I should say the light coming from the moon does not come from the moon. It actually comes from the sun and bounces off the moon and then comes to Earth and we see it with our eyes. So that's where that light is coming from. A lot of bouncing and bending of light happening. But it produces a really cool effect to see those rings around the moon at night.